It's clear that the increase of Lyme disease and other tick-borne diseases is rapidly becoming a public health crisis in the United States.
The patient needs to know, and the patient needs to know because the clock is ticking.
Long-term antibiotics is not an inconsequential thing. There's a lot of concern about antibiotic resistance.
It's really the patient that's caught in the crossfire.
It's the most depressing and isolating situation that I've ever been in my life.
Lyme disease. An estimated 300,000 new cases of infection are diagnosed in the U.S. every year. That means more voices are joining the debate. With a follow-up to 47 ABC's special report, Tiny Tick, Big Controversy. Here's lead investigative reporter Emily Lampa.
The month of May is Lyme Disease Awareness Month. All across the world, people are showing support and raising awareness about this devastating disease. Many things have happened since last year when we first aired Tiny Tick, Big Controversy. Over the next half hour, we'll take a look at those changes and what those suffering say still needs to be done. The Delmarva Peninsula, nestled between the Chesapeake Bay and the beaches, it boasts 580,000 acres of grass and rangelands. And for the 3 states which make up this region, when it comes to revenue, that's a lot of green. The most recent research shows farming alone contributes $126 million to Delmarva's yearly economy. Camping, biking, and trail-based recreation, approximately $1 billion. Hunting, fishing, and wildlife watching, that's just over $1 billion in spending. But increasingly, the draw of Delmarva and the health of all who enjoy it are at risk, all because of this tiny predator.
Folks need to know that ticks transmit really serious agents that can cause really serious infections, and they need to protect themselves against ticks. I mean, I think the day of just going out and walking through the woods without thinking about checking yourself for ticks or protecting yourself from ticks is just gone. I don't think people can, safely do that anymore.
The deer tick, also known as the black-legged tick, is notorious for spreading Lyme disease, the most common vector-borne illness in the United States. Although there are cases all over the country, there are areas of concentration, and Delmarva is right in the middle of one of those areas. The CDC estimates 96% of Lyme cases are reported in just 14 states. Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia are all on that list. However, creating even more concern this year, a whole new species of bacteria causing Lyme disease in the U.S. Dr. Bobby Pritt and her team at the Mayo Clinic made this discovery, and they named the bacteria Borrelia mayonii.
I could definitely say that from all the testing we've done, we can show it's definitively a new organism separate from Borrelia burgdorferi.
Borrelia burgdorferi is the name of the bacteria that causes the traditional form of Lyme disease. Although the infection is rarely fatal, it's often misdiagnosed since its symptoms resemble that of the flu. Left untreated for weeks, those with Lyme disease may develop severe headaches, neck stiffness, pain and swelling in the joints, shooting pains while sleeping, heart palpitations, dizziness, or Bell's palsy, which is temporary paralysis on one side of the face. But if it goes unaddressed for months or years, those infected could experience arthritis, joint swelling, nervous system problems, severe heart issues, eye inflammation, hepatitis, and severe fatigue. And now this new strain shows a higher concentration of bacteria in test samples and has 2 additional symptoms: nausea and vomiting.
This was not a benign infection. In fact, several of our patients were hospitalized, and that's not something we typically think of with Lyme disease.
Researchers have reason to believe this new strain is isolated to the upper Midwest for now. Those found to be infected with Borrelia mayonii did recover and apparently responded well to the antibiotics typically used to treat Lyme disease. But scientists say quick diagnosis and early treatment is essential to recovery.
We design and develop our own tests here at Mayo Clinic for tick-borne diseases with the idea of diagnosing them rapidly.
Dr. Pritt uses a test called PCR to diagnose Borrelia mayonnae. It looks for bacterial DNA in blood and fluid samples. But the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention still recommends a controversial two-tier testing for Lyme. The first-tier test is considered problematic because it looks for the body's response to the Lyme infection, not for the bacteria itself. And the reason that the test is considered ineffective early on is that experts say it can take several weeks for the body to create the measurable antibodies to confirm a positive Lyme test. If you're bitten by an infected tick and get a bullseye rash, you're lucky, because in that case, doctors will typically start antibiotics right away. Unfortunately, only about 70% of people infected with Borrelia burgdorferi get this telltale mark. And to make matters worse, it appears Borrelia mayonnae can manifest with a rash, but not always with the target-like formation.
I think we need better tests. What we have work okay, but I think that we need to raise physician awareness and keep working on better tests.
There are actually 85 FDA-approved Lyme diagnostic tests out there right now. However, since the CDC recommends only the two-tier testing, those are typically the only two tests that doctors prescribe or are covered by insurance, which is why so many Lyme advocates say that diagnosis should be left up to a doctor, not decided in a lab. Right now, those suffering with Lyme symptoms are now battling alongside lawmakers in the hopes that physician awareness can be legislatively mandated. A look at the state and federal fight is straight ahead.